Alright, it is morning of. Operation Bling is about to start. It is 9 o'clock in the morning and I'm at work and I get my first text message and it's from Madre, and she informs me that Allie got up this morning and she would like to take her sister and her aunt to go get a manicure, which is alright, except for that's the first stop in my plan, could potentially ruin a little bit of everything.
Thought that'd be a good idea to go with my aunt and my sister, and we would really enjoy that, and they were in town, so I wanted to do something nice for them, so we were just gonna go get our nails done. Well, it was very negatively looked upon by my family, and I did not know why, because usually my sister loves going to get her nails done.
And so, thankfully, Madre did a great job. She diverted the potential chaotic situation there and convinced her just to let her older sister do her nails for her, so she didn't have to get too dolled up for our date tonight. Then a little bit later, Allie and I kind of texted back and forth throughout the morning, and she communicated a little about what she wanted to wear and what I was wearing and everything else.
Because he had asked me a little bit previously before, you know, what my favorite shirt was that he wore, and so I kind of gave my opinion on that, and he was asking me a lot of really technical and personal questions, so I was like, well, maybe tonight will be the night. And
so I got the text message and I'm like, oh gosh, she thinks it's tonight. And so I kind of let her down a little bit and let her know that, well, I'm so sorry, I didn't really plan on all that. Should I guess maybe communicate that more. I just was gonna have a nice date and do some things and everything else. Kind of left her feeling like tonight wasn't gonna be the night, even though tonight really is the night. So anyways, we kind of diverted that a little bit, skirted around that, and then got off work at 12, and then headed up to Allen, got some last minute things like the roses, picked up the roses, and got them over to Madre and the gang, the team, and gave them all the last minute things, made sure we had everything just perfect so that we could execute Operation Bling, and that would be great. And so we did that, and then I met with Eric, our awesome cameraman, and we coordinated a couple things there to make sure that throughout the whole day we had everything just set so that it would go off smoothly, kind of that whole sweat and preparation so we don't bleed in battle thing that our pastor's always talking to us about. And so we did that, and then we got in the truck and drove down to the bank. We are heading to the Eagle to go start this thing up. Yeah, just ready to rock on it. So we almost had a little bit of a scare this morning because she tried to get her nails done first, which would have thrown off the first clue, but Madre did a good job at diverting that, so we're all set as a plan like normal, and we'll get here in a few minutes and get this ball rolling. Pulled in there and got all situated, got the camera in the right angle, got me right there in the front parking spot, and I texted my buddy Philip. I was like, alright, we're here, it's 2 o'clock, Operation Bling is now.
I was sitting there trying to finish something there at work, and over my shoulder I told Philip, like, hey, Allie, there's actually something up front for you. Well, usually if there's something up front for me at work, he'll just, walk away and let me go and get it at my own leisure. Well, this time he comes over and he's like, hey, Allie, there's something up front. And he waits for me to, get up and walk over. So I was like, oh, okay. So I pause everything I'm doing, and then I get up and I walk, and he does this funny thing where he doesn't just sit down at his desk. Well, actually, he leads me to the side door where the employees usually walk in. And through the glass doors, I can see Lawrence standing there, kind of leaned up against his truck, and I see a camera guy.
And Allie came opening up through the front door there. I was like, what are you doing here?
I walk out and really confused, and I just kind of don't know what to say. And if anybody knows me, my facial expressions are famous. And so I walk out and I'm just sitting there going, so what are you doing here?
Just here for the rest of the day. So, we're going on a fun date. This is Eric, Allie. He's going to record some of our fun day today. We're going to go on a treasure hunt.
Treasure.
Treasure.
And that I need to go ahead and go clock out because he had already talked to my boss, and it's time to go.
So the first clue I had for her, all handed, you know, in a little bag, and so I gave her the first clue, had her open up the clue itself first, so she kind of see the clue, and the clue was
one of my nail polishes.
Yeah. So I got a thing of nail polish, and then I actually had her then take the actual clue, which is an envelope, and she could open it up and read that.
Yeah, and the clue read where our mothers first met and where he took them to get pampered. Well, his parents and his little sister, Christy, flew down, it was the beginning of January, and they were meeting me for the first time, and they were meeting my family for the first time. And so I wanted to do something nice, as I told previously that my family loves to go get manicures. So I thought, what better way to get them acquainted and get them to be able to kind of chit-chat together and pamper them at the same time than to go ahead and go get their nails done. So I took them to Oscar Nails, and we sat and got a manicure and got to know each other a little better. And so it was a really, really nice, it was a nice place, and very, very, very fun time, very good time. So it was an important and big place to go to, a big place to take me to for the first clue. It was very important.
Yep. So instantly, of course, she knew, she guessed Oscars, and yep, that's the one. So we got in the car and loaded everything up and started driving there, and got to Oscars, got everything, you know, parked, came inside, and of course everybody in Oscars is going, holy crap, there's a cameraman in here, what's going on? And so, you know, poor Eric was getting looks and glares probably and stares and everything else. But so he came in there and already had made an appointment obviously for us, and so they got us right in. I got to go pick out her color, and so we picked out a good color to match her dress.
He actually picked the color. It was a very nice color.
I picked the color. It was a nice purple plum. But anyway, so we got that, and I went and I got my first manicure done. Yes, I got my first. Don't look at them now, but then it looked good. And so we sat down and got our manicure and kind of joked with the ladies there, and of course, like I said, the camera being in there, everybody was just dying to know what was going on. And we had this sweet lady on this one side. On the one side on the left, she was like, okay, I'm just dying to know what's with the camera. And I quickly intervened and was like, oh, it's just a fun date, you know, just trying to have fun, a lot of treasure hunt. And so one of the first clue was here to get a manicure done, so that's what we're doing. And she's like, oh, okay.
Meanwhile, he's saying all of this stuff, and I'm totally taking it to heart, because I mean, he quickly responds with, no, it's just a fun date, it's just a fun date. So almost as if to protect my feelings, so that they would know that, oh, no, it's not going to be the day or anything like that. So of course, I'm confused beyond all reason. Still have no idea what's going on, just think we're going on a fun date, and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying every minute of it. It was really nice.
So kind of a funny thing that happened while we were there is as the nails were kind of drying for her, I went up and went ahead and paid for everything. And so I'm in line there to pay, and the sweet lady was there in front of me, and she's sitting there paying, and all of a sudden she turns around to me and she goes, if this doesn't end with a diamond ring, you're a jerk. And so I was like, shh, don't worry. I was like, the little bling will match the ring, you know, and everything else, you know. And so she's like, okay. I was just gonna say, because if that didn't end in the ring, you're a jerk. And so, you know, so we pay for it and everything. And I get Allie and bring her out to the truck, and then I give her second clue. And second clue was?
Second clue was a little rock and a crane, and just to be able to understand a little bit of why he gave me a rock and a crane was because when we first had met at the church, we were joking back and forth. Some people could call it flirting. He put this little peanut rock, is what we called it, in my bag, and it pretty much sat in my bag for about 2 weeks, and I had no idea it was in there because I didn't really look in there. So if any women can understand with me that big purses, sometimes things disappear inside of them. Anyways, he texts me about 2 weeks later and he asks me, you know, well, have you found it? I was like, found what? What are you talking about? And he texts back, the peanut rock. And so I go looking through my bag because that was the only thing I had on me. And so I'm digging through my purse and I find this peanut rock in my bag that had been sitting there for about 2 weeks, and I just thought it was the cutest and the sweetest thing. And so anyways, it was adorable. And the crane, actually, it's pretty symbolic, I feel like, for me, just for me and him, obviously. But just something that I would give him to show him that I was thinking about him, or I would write a note inside of it and I would fold it for him. It's an origami crane, and I would place it somewhere that he would be able to find it, so that he knew, you know, I was just thinking about him, and so he would be able to understand my feelings, or if we had, you know, gotten in an argument of some kind, he would know that he still, you know, had my heart and that I still loved him, and anything like that. So it was really significant and it was really sweet that he incorporated it into that. But the clue read in the envelope where we exchanged our first gifts and where our eyes first met. And so it was at the church where we exchanged the peanut rock and the crane for the first time. So we headed off to the church, and as we walk in, of course, now at this point I'm just really excited because there's little presents and there's people, and so I open the doors to the church, and there's Pastor Ryan and Isabel standing there with the next clue.
Luke was there too.
Luke was there too, walking around, that big boy. He's so cute. But they're standing there with the next clue, just big smiles on their faces, and I was like kind of getting a little bit suspicious at this point, just because, I don't know, they would be in on it if there would be, and Ryan really is a big part of who I am because he was my youth pastor. So that was really cool, and so they give me my next clue, and open it up, and it's our little tortilla holder.
And first off, let's just note here, when she said that Pastor Ryan and Isabel were like full smiling, they were like full out, all out cheese grinning. Like I'd never seen Pastor Ryan almost as happy in my life. I was like, oh God, he's happy for us. But of course they're happy for us, but it was just funny.
Granted, we weren't there when Luke was born, so obviously it was not as happy as that
moment. But, so we, you know, they give her the gift, and when they give her the gift, it's a tortilla holder. And when I first asked Allie to date me, or maybe even before that, we talked about how in a relationship there's kind of 3 phases. There's the appetizer, the entree, and the dessert. And so when I asked her, you know, to be my girlfriend, I gave her this tortilla holder, and it basically said that now's time for the entree or something like that on the top.
The entree is only as good as the one that's making it.
The entree is only as good as the one making it, and that's what I had on top of the tortilla holder. And so I used that to ask her to be my girlfriend at a certain location, and so I knew that if I gave her that as a clue, that would help reference it back to her. So I gave her that clue, and of course she instantly was like, Lake Levon? And so, you know, yep, that's correct. So we took the tortilla holder and the clues and said goodbye to Pastor Ryan and Isabel, and got back in the car and headed out to Lake Levon, because that's where I first asked her to be my girlfriend. And so we drove on out there and kept, you know, small chatting and, you know, small talking, listening to music, being funny like we normally are.
And every once in a while peeking back at Eric, saying hi.
Making sure he's still good.
Yep.
And so we drove out there to Lake Levon, took the little side, you know, back of the woods road back out there to Lake Levon, and we pulled up, and that's when she saw her sister and her aunt.
Yes, and that was something else. Even though I already knew that they were in town, we were already there, it was still obviously a big shock to me to see them standing there. With the next clue, of course, my sister is actually from Austin, and my aunt that was there, my Aunt Jennifer, is from Iowa. So they both come from far away, to be there that day. And so at that point, when I saw my sister standing there, my aunt from Iowa, and I saw that they were involved, it kind of sparked in my mind, oh, man, this is actually happening right now. So we got out of the truck, and I hugged my sister, and I hugged my Aunt Jennifer, and just, my Aunt Jennifer was crying already, and anybody who knows Aunt Jennifer knows that she's just got a sweetheart, and so she was already just tearing up and already crying, and so it was making me a little teary-eyed as well. So they hand me my next clue, which actually is a heart rate monitor. For those who know, I actually ran cross-country and track when I was in high school, and I used to train wearing a heart rate monitor on, and the man who really taught me and guided me through that was actually my coach from high school. So as soon as I saw the heart rate monitor, I knew where we were going to be heading next. But I read the clue, and it read where we used to go work out and have our late night workouts, and also where I learned that your nickname was Click, and I knew for sure we were headed to the track, and we were going to see Coach Trent because he was the one who gave me that nickname, Click, because my ankles pop a lot. So at this point, there's a bit of a change up, and he, gives me a kiss and walks to my sister's car, and my sister and my aunt and Eric get in his truck. And so at this point, I'm a little confused as to where I'm supposed to be going. And but they told me to get in the truck. Christina was going to be taking me from this point on, and Lawrence was going to be on his way. So we get in the truck, and he leaves, we leave, and
that was scary in itself.
Then my sister was driving his truck.
I was giving my keys to her sister to drive my truck.
Yeah.
But it was crucial that she was at this location. It was crucial that she took her from here to the next couple locations. You'll understand why. But so she got in the truck with her. I kissed her, told her that I'll see you a little bit later. Told Christina, go get him. And we got in her car, and we started driving away. Of course, she was going to the track, so she loaded the track, and then I was going to the final location.
Yeah, so my sister is in the truck, and she's got CDs on her fingers, and she's like, I have CDs for the drive and stuff like that. So we pop in, actually Carrie Job's Majestic, and listened to that on the way there, which was really calming for my nerves, because at this point I realized what was going on, and so I started getting kind of anxious and a little nervous. I don't know why nervous, but I was just probably more anxious than anything. And we start driving over to the track, and we pull up, and I see Coach Trent's truck sitting where it is normally sitting, inside the gates there next to Allen High School. And we get out of the truck, and we walk up, and I don't see Coach Trent anywhere. I was like, where is he? But I see his wife coming out of nowhere, and she's joking back and forth with me. We're just kind of chit-chatting a little bit, and then Coach Trent kind of comes out of this area where we would usually get ice and different things like that, or kind of the concession stand. And so he comes out, and is kind of chit-chatting with me, just talking. Of course, at this point, I'm anxious, and I want to kind of get to wherever Lawrence is at, because I know I'm supposed to be there, but I'm not there with him. So I'm talking with him a little bit, and kind of like trying to lead him on to say, hey, I kind of want my next clue, let's go. So he asked me, he's like, you ready for your next clue? And I'm just sitting there like a little kid who just got asked, you want another piece of candy? So he goes in, and he gets my next clue, and I get it, and I open it, and it's this cow that's dressed up in some crazy attire, and party favors, those little ones that you blow on and they that kind of thing. I'm not gonna do that again. so we go ahead and I open the envelope, and it says where I learned about a lot of your childhood memories of feeding the ducks and swinging on swings, and also where you had your surprise 17th birthday party. But so to understand the clue, the reason the cow was dressed all crazy was because at my 17th birthday party, they had me dress up in this crazy dress, clothes, whatever I opened, I had to put on. It was some crazy stuff, and so the cow was dressed like I was dressed that night. So I went ahead and I read the clue, and I knew where I was going. We were headed to Bethany Lakes. I was excited, anxious, wanted to get to the next spot, and it seemed like nobody was on the move. And they weren't ready to go, so they were there just chit-chatting and talking and having a good old time, and I had no idea what was going on.
So my side of the story now, I leave Lake Lavon. I know that Christina's got my truck and she's going to the track. I head to Bethany Lakes because that's where I've got to make sure that Madre and Padre are there. They've got everything set up. Aunt Barbie, Aunt Viola, and Uncle Mark, they're all there, making sure that everything is set the way I want it. We got everything laid out and we're ready to go. So I get there and we're pretty much all, they had everything perfectly just about where I wanted it. So we tweaked a couple things and we're like, okay. And I go, man, I haven't heard from Andrew, the guy who's supposed to take pictures of just the proposal scene. And so I text him like, hey man, where are you at? Because it's right about 4:15, and so I expected her to be there about 4:30. At least that's what I had planned. And so he texts me back and he's like, hey man, caught a little traffic on 75. I'm about 30 to 45 minutes out. And I instantly go, oh God, have mercy. Goodness, because I know that they're about to be with Coach Trent and they're going to be here the next probably 15. And so instantly I tell Madre, I'm like, text Coach Trent, I'm going to text Christina. We're texting them, we need to stall, we need to divert, because although Eric will be there shooting video, I wanted somebody there to be able to capture just some still shots and everything else. And so I'm like, stall. And so I text Christina and she's like, don't worry, I got it. We can go to Starbucks, we can go to Bed Bath and Body and get some soap stuff for Mom. She's like, shoot, I can even get a speeding ticket if you want me to. And I was like, well, let's not get too drastic here. Let's just try to stall the best you can there. And Coach Trent replies back, he's like, all right, don't worry about it, I'll get you some time. Andrew texts me back, he's like, can we stall? Could they maybe go, change, get a tire rotation or something, change the oil? I'm like, no, that's not gonna work, Andrew. So anyways, so we tell them to stall, and I'm kind of freaking out a little bit because I'm just like, crap, like this is the only real diversion now that we've had. So we text them to stall, and they do a fantastic job. Ellie, what did they do to you?
Oh, well, so I decide, we're standing there, nobody's moving. I'm gonna take this opportunity to go ahead and use the restroom. So I walk into the bathroom, and these are bathrooms that you have to lock because they're over at the track. You don't want anybody to get in and out of them in the middle of the night because the track stays open 24 hours. So Coach Trent unlocks the bathroom for me, and I go ahead and I walk in and get done after I'm washing my hands, and I go to walk out and practically hit my face against the door because it is locked. And I let out a short yell, I'm like, hey! Until I realize I can unlock it from the inside. So I go ahead and I unlock it from the inside, and I turn off the light, walk in. I was like, why'd you guys lock me in the bathroom? And they completely blow over that question, and Coach Trent's wife is like, hey, why don't we go for a walk around the track? And kind of sitting there, and I laugh. I'm like, yeah, She's like, no, but really, come on. I was like, okay, this is a little strange. So, but anyways, we go on the track. I'm wearing a dress and heels, and we go for a nice little walk, and I'm chit-chatting with her, and I kind of ask her what's going on, and she's kind of standing there next to me like, no, I don't know what's going on. There's nothing going on. Just
a fun treasure hunt.
treasure hunt. And so that throws me off again. I'm just like, I don't know what's going on still. But anyways, we finished walking at least one lap around the track, and I walk off and I walk over to Christina like, okay, I'm ready to go. Let's go. And so we say our goodbyes to Coach Trent and his wife, and we go ahead and we hop in the truck. And my sister decides she's going to take the long way out from the high school, and I'm sitting there asking her like, why are you going this way? You can go the other way, you know. I'm at this point just really anxious to get to where we're going. And she's like, oh, I didn't want to have to turn around, something that makes an excuse. It kind of blows over that question too, and she's like, how about we go get Starbucks? I just sit there and I'm just like, okay, there's a reason. There has to be a reason. So we go on our way to get Starbucks. We drive to the complete other side of Allen in the complete opposite direction of Bethany Lakes. And we go ahead and we walk probably halfway into the store, and my sister yells, wrong Starbucks, and gets back into, like, doesn't even converse with us before she gets back in the car. She just climbs back in the truck, and we follow her like little ducklings into the truck, and off we go. But at this time I had no idea that they were stalling or anything like that, and so I was just like, okay, well, this is weird, but let's go. So we pulled into Bethany Lakes, and there were 3 people standing there that I recognized them, but I couldn't place who they were. But as we're getting closer to the parking spot, it had cones and purple ribbon on it, kind of blocking off the area. They went in to pull those cones out of that spot, and I recognized who they were. I saw it was my godparents and my Aunt Barbie. And my heart was just full of joy. I was excited to see them, completely surprised and shocked. And when I got out of the car, I had tears of joy in my eyes, and I went to go hug my Uncle Mark, who's my godfather, and I went to go hug my Aunt Viola, who's my godmother. And then when I got to my Aunt Barbie, it all just kind of really sank in as I embraced her. All the emotions just began rushing in, and it made me realize how much thought had gone into this, and how much he had just listened to how important these people were in my life, from my sister and my aunt from Iowa to Pastor Ryan to my coach, and now my godparents, who really played a huge role in my life, and especially my Aunt Barbie, who really kind of took on that second motherly role for me there, and so I just began to sob, and in a very good way, but it really touched my heart. And as my aunt let go of the embrace, she was holding Lawrence's iPad, and there was a video prepared on it called The Proposal.
So a few months before we had met, I was working at a church, helping out with the youth worship there, and one of the days that I was there, I noticed that one of our seniors was with this girl, and she was really pretty. And I was walking by, and he said, hey, have you met Allie? And I said, no. So I went over there and met her, and I was just thinking, wow, she's gorgeous. But she's probably a minor, so I probably should just, stay away. And as luck would have it, per se, it turns out she's not a minor. She actually was in college and older, so that gave me a little bit more peace about everything, and knowing that it was kind of okay, and realized that this was someone that I needed to pursue a little bit. So I talked to my pastors, my leaders, my mentors, kind of got their approval that, okay, I need to start pursuing this to date this girl. And so I did. I talked to her parents, got their blessing on it, and got my parents' blessing and everybody that I needed to, and ended up taking her off to one of the places that we used to go. And we'd always talked about how in a relationship there's 3 phases: the appetizer, the entree, and the dessert. And every time before we started dating, I would leave her little notes like enjoying the appetizer. It was always my end line. And so I put together this little tortilla holder, and as odd as it is because she's mixed Italian Mexican, but I put that together, and on the top of it said, you know, here's to starting an entree. And she opened it up, and it had like the checkbox for who I'd already gotten approval from. It was just her parents, my parents, God, my mentors, and then the last space to check was you. And so she quickly checked that off, and we started the entree of dating. So after 5 to 6 months of dating, I really prayed and realized that, okay, this is the one that I want to spend forever with. This is the one that answers the question as to, you know, is this the one that you want to fight through life with the rest of your life? Is this the one that you want to, you know, fight the death with? And I realized that she is that person. She's the one that I want to do that with. So that leads us to today, which was the day that I needed to ask her parents for approval to then marry her. And so earlier in our relationship with dating, they had always joked about needing to provide like a dowry for her, you know, needing to provide, you know, elephants and tigers and bears, oh my, you know, as a means of payment, so to speak, to get their blessing. And so I kind of knew that and decided to plan that into me asking for their approval and their blessing. And so we went and picked them up, and we went and got some coffee and kind of alluded to what I was doing. And then right before I kind of asked him any more questions, I said, I need to show you something. So brought him back to the house, and I planned already to have the animals in the backyard and everything. And so sure enough, I led them over there to the backyard and, you know, opened the door, and there they all were. And so they got some laughs out of that. Obviously, they never thought I would do it. So we did that, and then I asked them for their blessing to ask Allie to marry me. And they said yes. And they said yes without hesitation. And then they did what they did when I asked to date her, is they wanted to pray with me and pray for me. And so we linked up, and they prayed over me and everything else, and it was just total peace in that moment. But I think one of the biggest things that impacted me was when her dad kind of looked at me in the eye and said, you know, as a dad, he's always prayed for his daughter to have that knight in shining armor, that one who's going to honor, respect, and love her, and treat her the way that she should, and really, you know, knock her off her feet. And that today, I was an answer to that prayer that he's prayed for her.
So then my Aunt Barbie takes the iPad back, and she says, follow the roses. I'm sobbing and crying like a blubbering baby, and I see these beautiful roses placed in arrows leading up the path to a pavilion over the lake. And this chalkboard is standing there with scripture from Proverbs, and it said her value is more than rubies. And as we began to walk, there was another scripture from Proverbs. And after I was looking at this chalkboard, I finished reading it, and I look over, and he's just standing there. And I just lose it, because I realize what's happening, and I realize that the man of my dreams is about to ask me to marry him, and I am beyond excited and overjoyed. And as I walked up to him, and I paused for a moment because I was taking in just the beautiful roses everywhere, and the candles and everything like that, and just taking in him. Walked up to him, and I gave him a kiss, and I hugged him.
Well, today it was October 31st that I took you to Lake Lavana.
started this journey with you. It was November 24th, and I finally looked into your eyes and gave you my first kiss. It was November 17th, and I gave you an agreement. Showed all my love, showed my heart on words. It said in there that it's not if, it's when. It said that I wanted to love you, lead you, and ultimately spend forever with you. That one day when I asked your parents, have you seen that today?
Yes.
And then the one day that I asked you. And you've made several stops so far today. And each one of those people has been very significant in your life. And also even to me, and what made you who you are today. And so with that, I just have one thing left. Alexandra Lee Castillo, I love you with all my heart. Will you marry me and be my second to one?
Yes, I will.
I knew always growing up, I've obviously been very thoughtful of what I wanted to do, what I wanted my proposal to look like, what I wanted my wedding to look like, different things that I wanted to do. I wanted to be, of course, romantic and, you know, woo her off her feet and everything else. And you know, I knew that I did, when it came to a ring, I wanted to design my own ring for my wife. And so actually at the job that I'm working at, my manager's cousin is a jeweler. He's a ring designer, and he did a fantastic job working with me, and I really just kind of laid out, met with him one time and just really laid out my heart for what I wanted to do. I wanted the ring for Allie to be different. I knew that she's a different person, and so it would have to be a little bit of a unique ring, and I wanted it to mean something, and that's something that's really, Allie doesn't care about the size of the diamond, she doesn't care about the price tag on it, she wants it to mean something, to have value. And so I knew that that's what I needed to do. Not that I got a cheap ring, or a little diamond, but so I worked with him, and I really just wanted to design it, and I knew I wanted the anchors to be on the sides, and I wanted to have that anchor of hope and have them connecting to the main diamond, which is, you know, the rock, is God. And so we put, you know, two hearts on the very bottom, and it comes up into the anchor, and then it goes and connects in with the rock, and it's really just, you know, two people going through life. All they know to do is put their anchor in Christ, and then letting, you know, I think we both did that in our life up to this point, and that's what led us to each other, was ultimately God. And we did a couple other things on the front and sides of it. We did a 3-chord braid, because the 3-chord strand is not easily broken. So the two of us and God and the Holy Spirit and Jesus Christ really needs to be our anchor from this point to the rest of our lives. So I knew I wanted to have that, and he did a great job implementing all that into a ring for it. When I went and picked it up, I couldn't have been more happy. I was just like, oh my goodness, like, this is perfect, she's gonna love it. And so I knew with this whole proposal, for the longest time I really didn't know how I was going to do it. I always knew I wanted to do something big. I knew I wanted to do something that was thought out and elaborate. And when it came down to it, really, I knew that she deserved it as a woman of God, and as someone that has maintained themselves pure and has really strived to be the woman that God's called her to be. I knew that this ring, that this story, the testimony that she shares from her own life is all going to lead up into the proposal, into what God brought to the both of us. And so I knew that in all this I wanted it to be filmed, I wanted it to be documented, and I wanted this to be something that we'll be able to share and cherish in ministry down the line. I wanted this to be the story that she's able to share to young girls that need hope, to be able to share it to orphans and to widows and to people that are struggling and people that are hurting, and know that, you know, look at the testimony that God did in my life. Look at the testimony that God did in our lives. And look what God ultimately brought us through and brought us into. And it's a beautiful thing. And so for me, that was the biggest thing that fueled everything that we did. Was I wanted this to be something that she can share in testimony that will ultimately lead others to Christ as well. And I believe we did it.
Me too.